So, coming back to my original question, we
Oops.
have, a general, we have
Oh
we
yes,
have
who can come?
a very, yeah,
Yes,
we have a very
so that's what
eclectic audience. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was coming to. It's a felt experience. So you can know
Okay.
nothing, and if you have some academic background, then you will hear and you will value from some of the academic elements in the process. You'll
Mm-hmm.
work those out yourself. If you don't, you'll just walk out having felt it. So therefore, have
Mm-hmm.
a felt knowing experience. But we spend quite a bit of time working with the hands, working in pairs, going through the different types of uh, uh, techniques. There are elements to the technique. There's a
Mm-hmm.
way of speaking in the mirroring
Mm-hmm.
hands.
Mm-hmm.
We have there's a way of not speaking in
Mm-hmm.
mirroring hands that you need to learn. And I was one of the things that I heard someone say. Oh, that did the work with me. They said, "Oh, this is like content-free stuff," and
Yeah.
I said, "Yes and no. It's content-free from the therapist, but it's
Mm-hmm.
hugely content rich from the client. It's not
Yeah.
content free, it's just a shift of where the content is most is asked to arise
Yeah.
most. So there's lots going on. When you're sitting there with a client whose hands are receiving, whose eyes are moving, whose fingers are twitching, I will just let that go for as long as that happens. But
Mm-hmm.
we do have a fail-safe in there, which is mainly for the therapist. And we just say, I wonder if you want to share a word or two,
Mm-hmm.
but only if it's helpful for you. And if you don't wish to, and you wish to continue with your private work, please do so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they start talking, that's what they want to do. I've had people go like this to me. And certainly if they say nothing, then just shut up. Get out of the way. Stop being uh, so impactful and
Yeah.
be incredibly wise, sensitive, and observant and ready for that moment of interactive, creative cooperation.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you were mentioning earlier, as we were, going through the questions, but can you practice this only in the room, or can you also, learn it and do it online?
Well, it is something you can learn online. I mean, obviously, practicing it, with a master.
Mm-hmm.
Ernie said I'm a master, so I'm a master. I
Yeah, there you go.
I find
Yeah,
it hard to be that sort of language, but um uh, but he wouldn't have chosen me out of all the thousands of people that he deals with in the world if I
yeah,
if I wasn't pretty good. So I'll accept that I'm pretty good. But it's always good to work with the master because you can model, you can work, and then I can come in. And I must admit, I spend most of my time when people are doing paired work, walking around going shh 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 shh
sure.
shh. Don't stop getting in the way. But also helping because sometimes we're dealing with difficulties. So that is certainly the ideal. But we've done actually some work with video. I've done some on Facebook. We've got a Facebook group,
Mm-hmm.
and I do some group work, and people learn from each of those experiences. And I've also done a video program that we've got that's a little bit more academic, a little bit more scientific in the Science of Psychotherapy
Mm-hmm.
program, an academy that I do with. And the I've yet to create an entirely online program for the average practice. For not for the average, that's not right, but for
Yeah,
this
yeah,
eclectic
yeah,
practitioner that you talk about,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
um, because I was traveling. Uh, and
Yeah,
then someone came along and said, "You have to stop traveling."
yeah.
The but the program, I mean, with thousands of people around the world. Canada, Mike Mandel, just endorsed it, and everybody went out and bought it. So there's
Yeah.
quite a lot of practical work in there, but it just, um, uh, as we know, that person-to-person thing is wonderful. But the beautiful thing about mirroring hands is that once you start to grasp it, it's not about how clever you are. It's about how aware you are and
Mm-hmm.
able to allow your client to engage in the process.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And can people join your class that you're going to have with us? Can they also, of course, join, online via Zoom, not only in the room?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic to have a audio visual, so a video going
Mm-hmm.
of the process, because observation is a
Mm-hmm.
huge part of what makes a great Ericksonian therapist, certainly.
Yeah.
Erickson would say, observe, observe, observe. Um, Ernie would say, observe the opposites. And
Mm-hmm.
engage. And then what we've led on, Ernie and Richard Hill say, and be client responsive. And that's
Yeah.
what I'll be doing. I actually am starting a PhD on that, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost a PhD.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a
Yeah.
few years work, but we're doing this work anyway. We've been doing this work for Ernie for 30 years, and me carrying on over the last 15.
Awesome. So that's great. And another question that we always get from people is, can once people are coming to the training, they learn the method that then they can start applying. Can I do this by myself as a self therapy, self intervention?
It is the most wonderful self-use therapy. It's something the therapist can use and of course they can teach their client to use it
Mm-hmm.
in a self-use way. Of course, the self-use way is slightly different, but the principle is the same. And in
Mm-hmm.
fact, I do it almost every day when I go to get some lunch or something at
Yeah.
the shops. There's a set of lights, and they are terribly slow. It takes for ages. It seems to take forever. And I will just stand there because, of course, now I'm steeped in it, and so I can very, very quickly just fall into an
Yeah.
appropriate focused attention of what some people call trance, focused attention, whatever it is you call it. And I will just say, I don't even have to raise my hands, but I can just sort of have them next to me. And I say, whatever it is that's bothering me, and I've been working hard all morning, so something is, just let it out, let it go. Oh yes, this hand's receiving it, and my hand will receive it, and then I'll just quietly say to myself, and I'll let it go because I trust it.
Yeah.
And there's a point at which it just goes, that's enough, and throw it away. And this hand, and I find that I do this thing, and I've written it up in the book, and we teach it in the course. I call it closing the door. Like
Mm-hmm.
I felt the energy come out of me that I don't want, and I put the energy I want here, and I close the door. And sometimes it's my forehead, and it's a bit difficult when you're standing at the lights, but I'll just go like
Yeah.
that, and then I'll do it. Then the lights change, and I just lift as I walk across.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it is that was within me, I didn't have to cognitively get rid of. I just intuitively let go through this very, very simple process.
Wonderful. And can it be done via Skype, internet, Zoom?
Even better, because again, it's the client that's doing the work. So it is good. You get them to stand back a little bit to try and so you can see. You're not seeing everything. There's movement that goes on sort of below the screen, which is useful when you're doing face-to-face. But there's lots going on the face that you use and lots in the hands. But again, it's the client that's doing the work. And once you get them organized, once they engage, and once you see them beginning to have this dynamic interplay of work, then you don't have to intervene. You don't have to interfere. In fact, I had one client who was standing up. It was online, and she was a yoga teacher. So obviously very supple. And I didn't realize that this would be a problem because she began, I said, and I wonder, are you feeling, yes, I see that hand is lowering. And so, and she lowered and lowered and lowered, and her head went down, and she went out of screen. And I thought, oh my goodness, this has never happened before. So I trusted myself, and I trusted the client's capacity. And she was out of screen. I could hear her breathing. I could hear certain movements. Occasionally I would say, is there something that you would like to share with me? Or are you happy to continue with your own private work? Occasionally, sometimes she would say a word or two, or she would just be silent, so I knew she was okay. I could hear her breathing, so I just responded, ah, yes. She took a deep breath, or so I'd say, ah, yes, a deep breath. And if I heard a shuffle of the clothes, that little movement. So she knew I was right there with her. And then at one stage, she just lifted herself up and said, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. And I thought, gee, that's amazing. That's amazing. Didn't even see her, let alone was it difficult. So it is a marvelous thing. It's also something you can do with people you know. I've often do it with my wife when she's having trouble. I said, just can we do the hands? Because I just get her going. I just get her, I allow the opportunity and the circumstances, and she will do it. And then I just sit back and let her do the process. And she might say, could you bring me out now? Sometimes, but other times she brings herself out spontaneously. So that's because I had someone say once when I was doing it, oh, I had a comment saying, oh, you can't do this with people that you know. And
I said, you cannot do therapy with family and friends because,
because you're instructive. Because you're instructive, because you're telling them to do things. You're taking them to places. But just back out and shove off. And if it goes beyond you, and is interfering with the relationship, then what do? You quietly pull back. We have a closing sequence that we use, which allows it, and then you refer them on, and say, "I think we were going to go somewhere that you and I shouldn't go together. So here's a friend of mine who can do this work and continue with you." But the information comes from the client. I'm not forcing one way or the other. Just responding.
Got you. And can you do this with groups? And if so, how is this different from doing it one-on-one?
Now, one-on-one, you're able to be highly responsive. Obviously, you're very, very subtle. Now, if I'm working with enormous difficulties, then I obviously would like to be one-on-one, someone with extensive trauma or something that has a great deal of history that requires not only my hypnosis, but also my psychotherapy. So I'm cautious there. And there are some people I don't take into hypnosis at all, as we all know. There are some people who are not suitable. Yet I will take them into focused attention and the area that is appropriate for them. So when working with large groups, and I've seen Ernie, and I have also led a group of several hundred, but it is not like one of those things where we're doing a process to get a particular goal, and certain number of the people will get it, a certain number of people will go into trance, and a certain number of people will fail. They won't get into trance. Everybody in the room has an experience. And that experience might simply be to observe others. So some people, they've said, no, I actually didn't have anything to work on. So I watched the lady over there who went through, wow, it was extraordinary what was going on. And of course, I like to not work in very, very large groups. And when I worked with Ernie, there'd be 2 or 3 of us who would wander around. If somebody went into a particular difficult direction, then we would go up and assist them. But again, that's when we're dealing with people with severe issues. But if we've got a group who just want to work on a particular simple issue, then let's see where it goes.